So I am still on vacation, but I've been on vacation for days, and I'm gonna tell you right now, there comes a point in your vacation where you like, okay, I need to just rest. Like I really need to just lay in bed and drink some water because first of all, I feel like I'm days behind on my water consumption. All I've been doing is drinking. But I will say this. The alcohol here is not as poisonous as the alcohol in America. I swear before God, because if I'd been drinking like this in America, I would be throwing up, head spinning, you know what I'm saying? Like terrible. Okay? Now, I don't feel 100% great, right? But I think it's mostly because I have not been drinking enough water and I could use a little more sleep because every day we be getting up early to go do stuff, right? So, that's just a side note. That's just a side note. Now, let's get into this video. We're going to be talking about what a Muslim leader, and yes, he is an Arab Muslim, right? What he said about afro hair, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to show you guys that video.
The Prophet tells us that among the best women are those whom you look at them, they please you. And this doesn't mean that she has to be shockingly beautiful, because this is not the case. Beauty is not an essential thing in marriage. If you marry a beautiful wife, couple of days, maybe couple of weeks, and then you'll get over it. You'll see the real character. But a nice and obedient and righteous wife would always be pleasant to look at. So when you go home, you won't find your wife with her hair untidy, doing the afro maybe, and with her teeth yellow, with food in it, and with smells of onion and garlic coming out of her, and with her voice coming from the depth of her throat saying, "How are you, honey?" This is not the thing you want to have home. A righteous, practicing Muslimah, and this I know for a fact, would always try to look her best when her husband comes.
So I went and I Googled this man's title because people were calling him the word Sheikh, I believe it's spelled. Google said it's pronounced Sheikh, okay? So I Googled this because I'm like, okay, let me see the importance that this man has in the Muslim community. Because, like, I mean, it holds weight differently if somebody who's actually, like, a leader of that community says something like this versus, you know, just some random nobody who ain't nobody thinking about anyway, right? So when I Googled this, two definitions popped up, right? The first one said an Arab man who is like the leader of his family or village or clan or whatever, right? And then the second one said a leader in the Muslim community, right? Now, this highlights the first concern that Black Muslims should have. And let's go ahead and just get into this. This definition of this word, it got me right to the point that I was going to make in this video. A lot of times, Arab culture is conflated with Muslim culture, okay? So you see this with this definition, right? It is now used to mean, oh, you know, a leader in the Muslim community. But initially, this was an Arabic word that, you know, Middle Eastern people use to refer to a man who is the leader of his, you know, family or village or whatever, right? And I'm saying this to make a point, okay? Arabic is not a Black language. Black people did not speak Arabic until the Middle Eastern colonizers came and enslaved you all and forced you to speak it. That is just the reality, okay? Now, a lot of you all speak it because of that. The same reason I speak English, because, hey, the English came and abducted my people and enslaved them and forced them to speak English, right? A lot of you all speak Arabic because of that. And now, a lot of you all will learn it because you're Muslim. Of course, you want to be able to read the Quran and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But this presents a very unique issue for Black Muslims. And I'm speaking about this because I'm a Black person. Anti-blackness affects me. No, I am not Muslim, but I mean, it's the same story in every community. Even if you're a Black Christian or a Black woman or a Black whatever, right? The story of anti-blackness affects us in every community that we are in. In fact, let me tell you all an example, right? So I am currently in Guyana, and I am here because my best friend is half Guyanese, right? And we went to a couple of her family members' houses, right? And I kid you not, multiple family members, right, at different houses, they had pictures of white Jesus on their walls. I'm not even joking, right? And you have to think about how that affects your mental. Think about how we view God, okay? Now, I don't know about Muslims, but I was raised a Christian, right? And I'm sure it's very similar in Islam too, okay? So the way we view God is like this all-powerful being, like God is like, woo, you know what I'm saying? So think about how it affects your mental as a black person when you are worshiping the image of somebody else. Okay, so in the case of these Christians who I visited, they literally have a white man on their wall. It's literally a white guy with straight hair. I kid you not, right? And think about how this affects black Muslims, right? They're sitting here and they're the exact same as black Christians in this respect, right? They're worshiping an Arabic God. And a lot of people are going to comment and be like, oh, God does not have a race or an image or none of that matters or whatever. But it does though. It does though, right? You sitting here in a religion that was created by people who don't look like you and people who hate you, right? Because let's be honest, these people hate black people. And I'm not just talking about Arabs. I'm talking about all non-black people, right? These people hate you and you're sitting here worshiping the image of them. And they sitting here saying stuff like, oh yeah, when your man comes home, he don't want to see an afro. And you sitting here worshiping the image of them. Yeah, your image is beautiful. Mine is not. Like, what? Let's just be honest with ourselves in the situation that we are in as black people, right? All of us. And I know folks are going to be like, oh, yeah, I think Ethiopia was the only country to not be colonized. That's fine. That's cute. You're still affected by this, right? All of us as black people are affected by colonization, enslavement, etc., etc., etc. Now, we were colonized and enslaved by different people, like those Arabic speaking regions of Africa, they were colonized by the Middle Easterners, whereas other parts of Africa were colonized by white people and all of that stuff, right? So we may have been colonized by different people, but a lot of what we endured was the same. These people came to our communities and they told us that our image is ugly and theirs is beautiful, right? In fact, there's a video, an old video. It's from like maybe the 1950s or 60s. I don't know, right? And it's of a black American child, right? And they show her, I think, 2 dolls or something, or 2 pictures. And one of the dolls is black, or the pictures, whatever. And one is white, right? And they ask her, oh, choose the ugly one. And she points to the black one. They say, oh, choose the pretty one. She points to the white one, right? I'm sharing this because, again, my point is not that, oh, you all are, mentally shackled in a way that black Americans are not. That's not my point, right? Because I'm talking about these, these black Muslims who are oftentimes African, right? But not always, okay? And then I spoke about these black South Americans, right? But I'm also going to speak about black Americans because we're all going through the effects of this, right? These people came to our communities and told us that we were inferior, and we have been worshiping their images and their whatever ever since. You don't think those two had nothing to do with each other? In fact, let me mention something that the Nigerian artist Tim said that was so dumb. I was like, this bitch must have rocks for a brain because there's no fucking way, right? So, again, she is Nigerian, and she took a picture like on the beach in the water or something, right? And a lot of Nigerians were in the comments like, oh my God, sis, you look like XYZ. And XYZ was some Nigerian god of water. Nigerian goddess, of water, right? So, again, Tim's is a Nigerian woman, right? And people were commenting saying, oh my God, like you look like, the Nigerian goddess. And I don't know what tribe the goddess is. I don't know if it's Yoruba or Igbo or whatever, right? And Tim's was offended by this. And she literally responded talking about, I worship Jesus Christ. Don't compare me to so-and-so and so, yada, yada, yada. Bitch, how could you be offended that somebody compared you to the gods of your people instead of the gods of white people? Like, you really mad somebody compared you to a Nigerian goddess when you are Nigerian, right? That's your goddess, baby girl, right? Instead of white Jesus. Are you kidding me, right? And it's crazy. It's just crazy to me how deeply shackled so many black people are. Like, Like, we like to talk about slavery and colonization and stuff ending, but it has not. Like, when I tell you that black people everywhere have been so programmed by this shit that a lot of us are still colonized and still fucking enslaved, it's crazy. It's funny because I've seen African Muslims touch on this topic before, right? So I've seen a couple of different occasions where Africans were like, oh yeah, we should wear more of our like traditional African clothing instead of this other clothing that is not actually Islamic clothing, it's just Arab clothing, right? So they were talking about the fact that a lot of this modest clothing that is pushed as Muslim is not actually Muslim at all, right? It's just Arab culture, and you can be modest in your own cultural attire, right? And it's crazy because the Arab Muslims were telling them that wearing their African outfits was haram, right? Haram is like, if I pronounced that correctly, but basically it's like, you know, the stuff that in Christian terms it would be a sin, right? Like, oh, that's sinful, you can't do that, and, you know, be in good Islamic standing, whatever, right? So these Arab Muslims were telling them, nah, you can't wear your African clothes. That's not how we do this. And it's crazy because I've seen African Muslims talk about how Arab Muslims really think that they closer to Allah just because they Arabic. I am not kidding. They always talking about, like, apparently there's a African prophet in Islam, right? So the African Muslims are always pointing out, okay, y'all acting like we not as Muslim as y'all, but XYZ, he's literally an African guy and he was one of the prophets in the Quran and whatever, right? Y'all, I pose one question for black people who are Muslim, who are Christian, who are whatever, right? I'm posing one question to all of you, okay? Because we already know it's a given that you all became these things because of your interactions with white people, okay? And I say interactions because, again, I think it's the Ethiopians. They converted to Christianity after their interactions with the Greeks. They were not actually enslaved or colonized, but the Greeks brought Christianity over there, and they were like, oh yeah, this white people shit is better than my African stuff. Let's go with this, right? So I'm not going to say that all of us are these things because of slavery and colonization, because there's that one little exception to the rule, and they got to make sure that you know it, okay? So my point is this: whether you was colonized and forced to it, or if you willingly switched, you got the shit from non-black people, okay? That's just a given, okay? So let's get to my question. Do you really think that the people who hate you would have given you something that would benefit you? And let me speak to black Americans real quick, right? Because when we were enslaved, it was illegal for us to learn how to read. If white people caught you reading, they would pluck your eyes out. I kid you not, right? But there was one exception to that. Enslaved people were allowed to gather together on Sundays and read the Bible. So you telling me that I can't read nothing but the Bible? You telling me that, oh, reading must be something good if you telling me, oh, you can't do that, right? But you'll let me read this Bible, though. You all really think... I'm sorry, I had to get out a quick cackle. Hold up. You all really think that people who hate you, because let's not forget that the Middle Easterners are still enslaving black Africans to this day in certain parts of Northern Africa, right? You really think people who hate your fucking guts would do anything nice for you? Like, let's just think about this in real life terms, right? If I came across somebody who tried to harm me, right? Like they tried to hit me with their car, and then like when I seen them again, they beat my ass, and then when I seen them again, they tried to sell me into human trafficking. Like, this person hates me and wants me to suffer immensely, right? And then one day I see that person and they're like, oh, like, I have something good for you. Like, yeah, like, here's this book to read. Like, yeah, that's awesome for you. I would think, oh no, this is a setup. This clearly has to be a setup. There's some anthrax in this book or something. There's no way that somebody who hates me to this degree would be like, oh yeah, but you know what? I'm going to do you this one solid. There's no fucking way. I'm sorry, but black people are really out here playing checkers while non-black people are playing chess.